It's strange, isn't it, how the people who make us feel most alive can also make us feel the most unseen. How love can feel both like home and like hunger at the same time. You tell yourself you're finished, that this time you will move on, yet one message or one look pulls you right back into the ache. There is a reason you keep circling men who cannot meet your needs. It is not weakness, and it is not a lack of worth. It is something older than a choice. It is a pattern born in silence long before you had the words to describe it. Somewhere inside, the child who learned that love meant waiting is still reaching for a hand that never fully closed around hers. And somewhere else, your nervous system is chasing that same spark, mistaking what is familiar for what is safe. When we talk about why we love people who cannot love us back, it is easy to slip into blame. We say things like, "I must be broken," or "I just attract the wrong kind of men." But the truth is actually gentler and harder. It is not about what is wrong with us, it is about what happened to us. Many of us grew up in homes that looked fine from the outside. There might have been food, school, and a roof. But maybe there was no emotional safety. Maybe when we cried, no one came to help. Maybe love was unpredictable, being warm one moment and cold the next. That kind of inconsistency teaches a nervous system to stay on high alert, always scanning for signs of connection and always fearing the moment it disappears. Childhood trauma is not only what was done to us, it is also what should have happened, but did not. The comfort, the understanding, and the feeling that our emotions made sense. Emotional neglect can be quiet and invisible. It looks like a parent who is too overwhelmed to notice, a home where feelings were too loud, or a place where you learned early to shrink your needs so you would not be a burden. When that happens, love starts to mean earning something rather than simply receiving it. We learn to read every small cue, to work harder for crumbs of affection, and to take responsibility for the moods of others just to feel safe. Those patterns did not form because we were weak. They were smart responses to a world that did not feel safe. As children, we adapted the best way we could by pleasing, performing, disappearing, or trying to fix the people who hurt us. Those strategies kept us alive. They helped us survive emotionally and perhaps even physically. But as adults, they start to misfire. The same instincts that once protected us now pull us toward what feels familiar instead of what is good for us. We mistake the tension of uncertainty for chemistry. We confuse longing with love because that is how love first felt, just out of reach. So when we find ourselves trapped in the same painful patterns, it is not a failure. It is our nervous system replaying an old story, trying once again to earn the love it never got to rest in. The work now and the healing is not to judge ourselves for these patterns, but to understand them. We begin by saying to ourselves softly, "Of course, you did what you had to do to survive. And now together, we can learn a different way to love, one that does not cost us our peace to keep." Consider a woman named Alina, who is 33. She has kind eyes and is the type of person who remembers everyone's coffee order but forgets her own boundaries. Every relationship starts the same way. She meets a man who seems calm and mysterious. He texts just enough to make her feel wanted, but never enough to feel secure. She tells herself he is just busy and that he is different from the last one. She fills the silence with empathy, as making excuses for every delay and every missed call. On their third date, he mentions he is not great at emotional things. She laughs it off, pretending it does not hurt. A small knot forms in her stomach, but she covers it with hope. She has learned to ignore those knots. They always show up right before the part where she starts to chase. She sends long, thoughtful messages, and he replies with a simple thumbs-up emoji. She stays up late wondering what she did wrong, writing and deleting texts. At work, she is calm and capable. No one would guess that she is quietly falling apart. When friends ask about him, she says things are going well, even as she feels the distance growing. Nights feel very long. She replays their last conversation, searching for clues like a detective trying to solve a crime that keeps repeating. Deep down, she knows this story is ending. Still, she cannot stop hoping he will finally see her, really see her. After another fight about needing too much, she sat on her bed in the dark and whispered to herself, "Why do I keep doing this?" Somewhere inside, an older voice answered, quiet and tired, "Because this is what love felt like." When she was little, her father worked late and her mother was anxious. Alina learned early to require very little, to read moods before they were spoken, and to smile through disappointment. When love came in short bursts of attention or a gentle word, she clung to them, mistaking scarcity for value. Now, as an adult, her body still recognizes that pattern as home. The distance feels familiar. The uncertainty keeps her alert and alive. Safety, on the other hand, feels foreign and almost boring. When someone kind and steady shows up, she tells herself there is no spark. It is not that she does not want love. It is that her nervous system does not yet know how to rest in it. 3 truths hide inside Alina's story. First, when we grow up with emotional distance, our bodies learn to view love as a pursuit. We chase because once upon a time, chasing was the only way to stay connected. Second, we accept inconsistency as normal. The push and pull of attention feels like home, so stillness feels wrong. Third, when our emotions were unseen as children, we learn to earn visibility instead of expecting it freely. We mistake being needed for being loved. But there is a quiet shift waiting to happen the moment we stop asking others to complete the story. We began in childhood and start listening to what our own longing is trying to tell us. Healing does not mean choosing differently overnight. It begins with noticing, with pausing at the edge of that old habit and saying, "I know this feeling, and this time I do not have to follow it." That is where the story begins to change. Then there is Dion, the kind of person everyone admired. He was reliable, polished, and always busy, always. He had a good job and never missed a deadline. His phone was an extension of his hand, filled with emails and endless scrolling. He told himself it was just about staying productive. Nights were quieter, but not still. He had a few drinks to take the edge off with a show playing in the background. His body was there, but he was somewhere else, floating just above his own life. If you met him, you would think he had everything together, but inside, everything hummed with a constant ache he could not name. He did not explode, he just kept moving forward, never looking inward. The moment the noise stopped or the phone battery died, something heavy pressed against his chest. He would feel a flash of panic, as if he might fall into himself and never come back out. So he reached again for the screen, the bottle, or the next task, anything to stay one step ahead of the silence. It had not started this way. As a child, Dion learned early that his emotions made people uncomfortable. When he cried, he was told to be strong. When he was scared, he was told not to be dramatic. So he built a shell of achievement as armor and busyness as proof of worth. He discovered that if he was successful, people smiled. If he was helpful, they stayed close. When he felt lonely, the best way to escape was to stay in motion. Over time, that motion became its own kind of numbing. What we often call addiction can look like dedication or ambition, but underneath, it is often a way to manage pain that feels too big to face. The question is not why the addiction exists, but why the pain is there. What was so unbearable that being constantly busy felt safer than being still? What part of him learned that feeling nothing was the only way to survive feeling too much? When we look at ourselves this way, compassion replaces shame. The scrolling, the drinking, and the overworking are not failures of willpower. They are strategies the body uses to protect us from feelings we were never taught to handle. They worked once and helped us function, but now they keep us disconnected from the life we are meant to live. Dion has not figured it all out yet. He has just begun to notice the patterns and to sit for a few seconds longer before reaching for his phone. He is learning to breathe when the emptiness rises. Healing for him looks like curiosity instead of control. It is learning to ask softer questions like, what is the feeling I keep trying to outrun? And what might happen if I stop running for just a moment and let myself feel it? Imagine your body as a house with a smoke alarm. The alarm's job is to keep you safe and alert you to danger. But sometimes, after too many fires, it becomes oversensitive. It goes off even when you just burn toast. That is what happens in us too. When we have lived through fear or neglect, our bodies remember. Even when the mind forgets the story, the nervous system keeps reacting as if the danger is still near. This is what we call implicit memory. Memories written not in words, but in sensations and reflexes. Maybe you do not recall every argument from childhood, but your stomach still tightens when someone raises their voice. You might tell yourself you are over it, but your body keeps scanning for smoke. It is not malfunctioning. It is doing what it learned to do to keep you alive. The mind and body are not separate. They are one conversation happening in two languages. The mind uses words and logic, while the body speaks through muscle tension and heart rate. When you feel anxious before a text reply, that is not you being dramatic. It is your smoke alarm going off. It remembers a time when silence meant rejection. The alarm does not know you are older now and have more support. It just recognizes the echo of an old signal and reacts instantly. For example, when you are waiting for a text back and your chest tightens, you might think you are overreacting. In reality, your body is reacting exactly as it was trained to. Maybe as a child, you waited for attention that never came, so now every pause feels like danger. Seeing it this way makes sense of the pain. The good news is that what the body learned, it can also unlearn. The alarm does not have to stay this sensitive forever. Each time we notice it and remind ourselves that we are safe right now, we begin to retrain it. We can teach the body new patterns of safety through breath and compassion. Healing is not about silencing the alarm. It is about helping it trust again. The first step toward change is simply to start noticing. Awareness turns the invisible into something we can work with. You might start a small journal to observe each day. Write down what moments felt intense, what was happening, and what you felt in your body. You might notice patterns like tension during silence or guilt after saying no. Writing helps you slow down the story you have been living. When you notice a trigger, instead of asking what is wrong with you, ask what the moment reminds you of, or what your body might be trying to protect you from. This helps shift from blame to understanding. Then, practice a small physical pause each day. Feel your feet on the floor and take one slow breath. Name a few things you see and hear. This brings your body back to the present and tells your nervous system that you are safe right now. Each pause changes the loop of automatic reaction. Next, choose one small boundary to practice, like not answering messages after a certain hour. Boundaries teach your body that it is allowed to have space and that safety does not always come from doing what others want. Even one small boundary is an act of repair. Finally, reach toward one safe connection, like a friend or a therapist. Healing happens in safety, not in isolation. Being seen without judgment starts to rewrite the old story that connection is dangerous. Each of these steps builds safety from the inside out. Awareness brings clarity, and the pause grounds you. Boundaries restore dignity, and connection reminds you that you are not alone. Healing begins with one small moment where you choose to be present instead of avoiding. If this process stirs deep pain, reaching out for professional support is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. Healing was never meant to be done entirely alone. The story of chasing distant love and the story of numbing through busyness are really the same longing with different faces. Both began with a child doing their best to survive. Carrying that old wisdom into adulthood is where it no longer fits. Tools like awareness and boundaries are how we gently bring safety back to a system that forgot what peace feels like. Think of light rising through dry soil. It does not rush. It just finds its way upward, slowly. That is how healing works, through small, consistent acts that tell the body it is safe to grow again. Change will not happen all at once. Safety comes first, and every small win counts. Every breath you meet with gentleness lets the light in. Take a breath and notice that you are here. Your awareness is proof that change is beginning. Nothing in you is beyond repair. Even the parts that hurt the most are trying to protect something tender. This week, let your practice be simple. Once a day, when you feel the urge to chase or disappear, just pause. Place a hand on your chest and whisper, "I am here." No fixing is needed, just presence. Each pause is a signal to your body that the story can end differently. You do not have to rush. You only have to keep meeting yourself where you are. Because every time you return to yourself instead of leaving yourself, you practice the truest kind of love. The wound begins to close the moment you stop running from it. As we move forward from the realization that our bodies are simply trying to protect us, the next part of the journey is learning how to sit with the discomfort of being okay. For someone who has spent a lifetime in a state of high alert, peace can actually feel like a threat. It can feel like the calm before the storm, making you want to create drama or find a problem just to return to a state of intensity that feels familiar. True change happens when we begin to tolerate the stillness. It is about learning that you are allowed to be happy without waiting for the other shoe to drop. This phase of healing is about building emotional capacity. The ability to stay present with yourself when things are quiet and when things are difficult, without needing to run away or fix everyone else. We also have to look at the concept of the inner protector. This is the part of you that developed those habits of chasing or numbing. Instead of fighting this part of yourself, you start to thank it. You say, "I see that you are trying to keep me safe by keeping me busy, but I am an adult now, and I can handle this silence." This shift from self-war to self-cooperation is where the deepest roots of the old pattern finally begin to loosen. Finally, we begin to redefine what chemistry feels like. We learn to stop looking for the spark that is actually just anxiety and start looking for the glow that comes from consistency and respect. We move from a love that is a roller coaster to a love that is a solid floor. It may feel less exciting at first, but it is the only kind of love that allows you to finally unpack your bags and stay. This is the part where you stop being a detective in your own life and start being a participant. The next step in this journey is learning how to deal with the strange emptiness that often follows the noise. When you finally stop the constant motion or the endless chasing, you might feel a deep sense of boredom or even a new kind of fear. This is because your system is so used to the chemicals of stress that normal feels like a void. You have to understand that this boredom is actually a sign of safety. It is the sound of your nervous system finally resting, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. This is the moment where you must resist the urge to find a new problem to solve or a new person to fix, just to feel that old familiar rush. Now we must talk about the grief of the version of you that survived. As you heal, you might feel sad for the child who had to be so strong or the adult who spent years running. This grief is not a setback, it is a necessary release. It is you finally acknowledging how hard it was to carry those heavy weights alone. You allow yourself to mourn the time lost to those old patterns so that you can truly inhabit the present. This sadness is actually the soil where your new, authentic self begins to grow. You are no longer just a collection of survival strategies. You are becoming a person who can choose what to keep and what to let go. The final shift happens when you change your relationship with enough. For a long time, you believed you had to do more, be more, or give more to be worthy of a place at the table. In this new stage, you practice the belief that your simple presence is enough. You start to notice that the people who truly belong in your life don't require you to perform or shrink. You find that you no longer have to audition for a lead role in your own relationships. You begin to value the steady, the quiet, and the reliable, not just in others, but in yourself. As you walk this path, remember that healing is not a straight line. You will have days where the smoke alarm goes off for no reason, and you will have moments where you reach for the old numbing tools. When that happens, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be kind. You simply notice the slip, offer yourself a hand, and return to the present. You are building a new home inside yourself, brick by brick, and every time you choose to stay with yourself instead of running away, you are strengthening the foundation of a life built on true peace rather than survival. As you deepen this work, you reach the part where you must learn to navigate the void of transition. This is the middle ground where the old ways of relating no longer satisfy you, but the new ways don't yet feel natural. It is a lonely, quiet space where you might feel like you don't know who you are without your roles as the fixer, the chaser, or the high achiever. In this stage, the challenge is to resist the temptation to go back to what hurt you just because it's familiar. You are learning to sit in the unknown, trusting that a healthier version of yourself is being formed in that very stillness. This leads us to the practice of active choosing. Up until now, much of your life has been a reaction to old wounds. Now, you begin to make choices from a place of preference rather than protection. You start to ask, do I actually like this person, or am I just relieved they liked me? Or, am I working late because I enjoy the project, or because I'm afraid of what I'll feel when I go home to a quiet house? By asking these questions, you take the power back from your history. You move from being a passenger in your life to being the driver. You realize that your no is just as powerful as your yes, because it protects the space where your peace lives. Next comes the integration of your shadow and your light. For a long time, you may have tried to hide the parts of you that felt needy, angry, or scared. You might have thought those parts were the reason you weren't loved, but true healing happens when you bring those parts into the warmth. You realize that your neediness was just a hunger for safety, and your anger was just a boundary trying to form. When you stop hiding these pieces of yourself, you stop being a fragmented person. You become whole. This wholeness is what makes you magnetic to healthy people, because you no longer need someone else to hide your flaws for you. Finally, you arrive at the stage of living in the body. This is no longer just a theory or something you read about. It becomes your daily reality. You start to trust your gut feelings immediately. When a situation feels wrong, you don't wait for a logical explanation to leave. When something feels right, you allow yourself to enjoy it without looking for the hidden catch. You recognize that your body is the most honest friend you will ever have. The end of this story isn't about becoming a perfect person who never feels pain. It's about becoming a person who is finally at home in their own skin, standing tall in a life that belongs completely to them. The next phase of this journey is about moving from surviving to thriving in connection. Once you have built a home inside yourself, the way you interact with the world changes. You stop looking for people to save you and start looking for people to share your life with. This is where you encounter the test of the healthy. When you finally meet someone who is consistent, clear, and kind, it might feel boring or even scary at first. Your old self might scream that there is no passion, but your new self recognizes that what you used to call passion was actually just the high of relief after a period of neglect. You learn to choose the slow, steady warmth over the flash of a fire that eventually burns out. This brings us to the concept of reparenting the future. You are no longer just healing the child you were. You are protecting the adult you are becoming. This means setting standards not just for others, but for how you treat yourself during a setback. When you have a bad day and the old anxiety returns, you don't punish yourself. You don't say, "I'm back at square one." Instead, you realize that square one no longer exists because you are a different person now. You have tools you didn't have before. You have a perspective you didn't have before. You are simply a person having a human experience, and you are allowed to have a hard day without it meaning you are failing. Then comes the joy of the ordinary. For someone used to the highs and lows of chaos, the ordinary can feel revolutionary. It's the ability to enjoy a morning coffee without a racing heart. It's the ability to sit in a room with someone and not have to perform for their approval. You start to find beauty in things that don't hurt. You realize that you don't have to be in pain to be interesting, and you don't have to be broken to be worthy of deep care. You begin to trust that the good things in your life are there because you built a space for them to land, not because of some lucky mistake. The next phase of this journey is about moving from surviving to thriving in connection. Once you have built a home inside yourself, the way you interact with the world changes. You stop looking for people to save you and start looking for people to share your life with. This is where you encounter the test of the healthy. When you finally meet someone who is consistent, clear, and kind, it might feel boring or even scary at first. Your old self might scream that there is no passion, but your new self recognizes that what you used to call passion was actually just the high of relief after a period of neglect. You learn to choose the slow, steady warmth over the flash of a fire that eventually burns out. This brings us to the concept of reparenting the future. You are no longer just healing the child you were. You are protecting the adult you are becoming. This means setting standards not just for others, but for how you treat yourself during a setback. When you have a bad day and the old anxiety returns, you don't punish yourself. You don't say, "I'm back at square one." Instead, you realize that square one no longer exists because you are a different person now. You have tools you didn't have before. You have a perspective you didn't have before. You are simply a person having a human experience, and you are allowed to have a hard day without it meaning you are failing. Then comes the joy of the ordinary. For someone used to the highs and lows of chaos, the ordinary can feel revolutionary. It's the ability to enjoy a morning coffee without a racing heart. It's the ability to sit in a room with someone and not have to perform for their approval. You start to find beauty in things that don't hurt. You realize that you don't have to be in pain to be interesting, and you don't have to be broken to be worthy of deep care. You begin to trust that the good things in your life are there because you built a space for them to land, not because of some lucky mistake. The final realization is that healing is not a destination you reach where you are cured and never feel an old ache again. Instead, healing is the shrinking of the distance between the trigger and the return to yourself. It used to take weeks to recover from a disappointment. Now it takes a day. Eventually, it takes an hour, and one day, it takes only a single breath. You become a person who knows how to come back to center. You are the captain of a ship that knows how to navigate the waves. The water might still get rough, but you no longer fear the storm because you know that you are the one holding the wheel. You are finally, fully, the author of what happens next. As you move into this final stage, you encounter the concept of unconditional self-loyalty. This is the point where you make a silent vow to never abandon yourself again, no matter who walks into or out of your life. In the past, you were willing to betray your own feelings, your own time, and your own peace just to keep someone else close. Now that trade is no longer acceptable to you. You understand that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one happening behind your own eyes. When you are loyal to yourself, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a person of deep personal power. This leads to the quieting of the inner critic. That loud, harsh voice that used to tell you that you weren't doing enough or that you were too much starts to lose its volume. It is replaced by a voice of internal advocacy. When things go wrong, instead of joining the world in judging you, your inner voice stands up for you. It says, "We are tired right now, and that is okay," or "We made a mistake, and we can fix it." This internal support system is what allows you to take risks in life. You are no longer afraid of failing because you know that even if you do, you will be there to catch yourself with kindness instead of shame. Next, you begin to experience generative peace. This is a state where your own healing starts to ripple outward and touch the people around you. Because you are no longer operating from a place of hunger or fear, your presence becomes a safe harbor for others. You notice that your relationships become cleaner and more honest. You don't need people to be different so that you can feel okay. You are already okay, so you can let them be exactly who they are. This is the highest form of love, a love that doesn't grip or control, but simply appreciates. You become a living example that it is possible to change the ending of a story that started in pain.